Today we are going to be solving the Fizz Buzz problem on LeetCode. It's LeetCode number 412. So we're supposed to write a program that can output the string representation of numbers 1 to n, where n is the parameter of the method. But for multiples of 3, we should output fizz instead of the number, and for multiples of 5, we should output buzz instead of the number. For numbers that are multiples of both 3 and 5, we should output Fizz Buzz. So for an example where n equals 15, so we're printing the numbers from 1 to 15, it goes 1 to fizz instead of 3 because 3 is a multiple of 3, 4, buzz instead of 5 because 5 is a multiple of 5, fizz for 6 because 6 is a multiple of 3, then 7, 8, fizz instead of 9, buzz instead of 10, 11, fizz instead of 12, 13, 14, and then Fizz Buzz for 15 because 15 is a multiple of both 5 and 3. How would we go about implementing this? Well, since we have to output the numbers from 1 to n, we're going to need a for loop here to do iteration. But within that for loop, there's a few different ways we could go about implementing this. One pretty simple way is if we iterate from 1 to n, we can just do some simple checks where if I is divisible by 15, we add FizzBuzz to the output. If it's divisible by 3, we add fizz to the output. If it's divisible by 5, we add buzz to the output. Otherwise, we just add I to the output. But there's actually a more efficient way to go about doing this. This is the code for the more efficient way of doing it. It's very similar to the other code. We still have a for loop to iterate, and we still have if statements to check what to add to the output. But the difference here is that rather than checking for a divisibility within the if statements, we're going to keep a fizz counter and a buzz counter to determine when to print fizz or buzz or fizz buzz. So let's run through this code with an example to see how that might work. In this example, we're going to have parameter n equals 15 and just start off by initializing a new array list with size n. So within this for loop, we're going to have I, fizz, and buzz all initialized to 1 and just increment them by 1 with each iteration of this loop. And then within the loop, we're going to have if statements where if fizz equals 3 and buzz equals 5, then we add fizz buzz to the output and reset those two counters. If fizz equals 3, we add fizz to the output and reset that counter. And if buzz equals 5, we add buzz to the output and reset that counter. Otherwise, we just add I to the output. So if we just trace this example a little bit, you can see that these counters are increasing with each iteration of the loop, but when I hits 3, then we reset fizz to 0 and add fizz to the output. When I hits 5, then we reset buzz to 0 and output buzz. When I is 6, reset fizz to 0 again and output fizz. When I is 9, reset the fizz counter and output fizz. And now when we reach 10, the buzz counter gets reset again and we add buzz to the output. For I equals 12, reset the fizz counter and add fizz to the output. And when I hits 15, now we add fizz buzz to the output and reset both the fizz and the buzz counters. So you can see how these counters check for divisibility the same way the if statements in the previous solution did. These just do it a little more efficiently by counting up and then resetting when it hits 3 in the case of fizz, and then counting up and resetting when it hits 5 in the case of buzz. So let's run this solution and see what we get. As you can see, we get a very efficient solution.